It's 7 p.m. here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. And this is Saturday night for Saturday, October 14th, from CarEdge with your host, well, me, Ray, that good looking guy over there with the beard is Zach. Where the hell have you been?
Busy, man. Busy, but I am glad to be back. Happy Saturday night, Pops. Let's kick things off right here, right now. Do
Yeah,
not buy a car because the
yeah,
latest data that
yeah,
came out from Kelly Blue Book shows, Dad, that as
yes,
inventory builds, car
yes.
prices, they have to come back down. Let me pull this up on the screen so we can all look together.
Okay.
The average price Americans paid for a new vehicle in September 2023 was down 3.4% from the beginning of the year,
Yes.
as inventory levels have increased and incentives have continued to increase as well. Look at this chart, Dad. It is BEAUTIFUL. Beautiful. I think we got that.
It's that and more apparently. Yes, it's showing that the average transaction price has actually gone down. Um, I don't know how excited we can get that it fell just a tad below $48,000, but that might be reason enough to set off the fireworks. I'm not 100% sure. Um, but the thing that's even more amazing to me is that as prices have begun to drop and incentives have begun to climb, so the manufacturers are willing to subsidize making a car deal a little bit more than they had been. Even with the UAW strike, which has been going on for 4 weeks now,
We're going to touch
even
on inventory. Yep.
yeah, even with that, new car inventory is still rising. Okay, and the rising inventory, if I were to guess, I haven't looked at the numbers, but if I were to guess, it ain't because of Toyota and Honda.
No.
Oh, okay. So it's
No,
still
no. We're
because
going
of
to
the big three?
Exactly. We're going to talk about the domestics here in just a second. Let's go immediately to the chat, though, Pops, to help frame up some of what we'll be talking about at the beginning of tonight. Phil
Yes.
G in the chat saying, my wife's lease is up in December. Is it going to be a good time then? We're going to be talking about end of the year. First Last says, when do I buy a car? Barbara G says, my car is dying. I'm holding on. And Saul says, I've
Yes.
been waiting for months to buy a car. At what point is it actually going to be time to buy one? We're going to get into all of that and significantly more here tonight. But let's just do a little foreshadow. End of the year is when we anticipate incentives to be the highest. The reason
Yes.
that I went with, Dad, just to surprise you, do not buy a car right now, is because we are finally starting to see that downward pressure on prices. And to
Yes.
your point about inventory, I'll pull that up on the screen next. This also comes from Cox Automotive, all right, one of the companies that they own over at Cox Automotive. And it shows us that inventory levels, like you just said, even amidst a strike, excuse me, not a shortage, a strike from the
Yes.
United Auto Workers is leading to significantly high supply for
Your
Dodge,
domestics.
Chrysler, Lincoln, Ram, Jeep, Ford. The average in the United States right now is a 60 days supply of inventory. We talk about this all the time on this channel, over on the Ray and Zach channel. Days supply is how many days it would take to sell all available vehicles in inventory based on the current sales rate.
Mm-hmm.
The industry average for all brands is 60. Ford, GM, Ram, Jeep are all well above that. And last time I checked, you said it as well, they're the
Yeah.
ones impacted by this UAW strike.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, apparently it's allegedly they're impacted by this strike. Maybe not.
And let's just
Maybe
address this, Pops. Phil says, I remember seeing a video thinking the UAW strike was only going to be 2 weeks long. We were wrong. Like, let's just be
I
very
don't
clear.
Phil G. I have admitted to being wrong about that so many times in the last 2 weeks, um, and I own up to when I make a prediction and it doesn't come true. I'll say I was wrong. Okay, I'm man enough to say it. I thought it would last 10 days to 2 weeks. I thought cooler heads would prevail. Apparently, I was way wrong. And as that inventory continues to build up, that puts absolutely no pressure on the manufacturers to get an end to this strike. So, we were talking about it the other day. Zach wasn't here when we were talking about it the other day, but on the noon show, somebody said, "Well, what's your new prediction?" And we were talking about holidays. My new prediction is I'm thinking, perhaps maybe by Thanksgiving, um, the UAW say we have enough. We're going into the holiday season. We need them. We want to be able to have Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and everything else. So we'd like to have some cash on hand to be able to do that. So maybe by Thanksgiving, I know Igor, who had thought the same thing I did, that it was going to be a very short strike. He's now suggesting, and it ain't going to end until Christmas. So, the wonderful thing about predictions is they're either going to be right or they're going to be wrong. More often than not, since they are predictions, they're going to be wrong. I apologize for that. That I really can't see that deeply into the future. So if inventory's building up, and it is, I mean, maybe that's why the UAW just started striking at that Ford truck plant in Kentucky.
Yep.
So there's now an extra 8,700 UAW employees that are on the picket line and on strike. But it doesn't seem to be having an impact at this point. And if I may, Zach, the reason I don't think it's having an impact is twofold. One, cars aren't selling as quickly as they had been. And two, there are fewer people in the market to buy all those cars. So, with interest rates being what they are, with the pricing being what it is, I think there's more and more people on the sideline. It's going to take a longer time for that inventory to be whittled down to a level where the manufacturers go, well, we better get these people back in here. We need to build some vehicles.
I think that's why you should still wait to buy a car, because the more inventory continues to stay built up, even amidst a strike, that's going to continue to put downward pressure. We have a little bit of insight on how the OEMs are thinking about this in terms of their pricing. You can see it right here. With the UAW strike entering its fourth week and General Motors inventory levels far below Ford and Stellantis, Detroit's largest automaker slashed incentives on all four of its major brands in September. General Motors' average incentive as a percentage of transaction price was 4%, down from 4.7% in August, and below the industry average of 4.9%. So for GM, maybe the advice here of wait to buy a car, don't buy a car right now, actually could be foolish, because the incentives, the actual inventory they have and the incentives they're offering are actually going down. But look at this stat for Ford and Stellantis. Both Ford and Stellantis, which have inventory levels well above the industry average, saw average incentive packages increase month over month in September to 5.2% and 7.3% respectively. GM and Stellantis posted higher average transaction prices month over month in September, while Ford's average transaction price declined less than 1%, aligned with the industry average. So the reason you should continue to wait if you're looking for a new vehicle, and we'll talk about used here in a bit as well, but if you're thinking about a new vehicle, is because there is pressure, even amidst a strike, when they can't produce inventory, on prices to go down, even just a little bit. It is a slightly worrying trend, Dad, when you look at the average transaction price, or the average amount of average incentive as a percentage of transaction price, because let me pull this back up on the screen. You can see it's flatlined. Last month was 4.9% was the average, or 4.8% was the average incentive percentage of average transaction price, and it's flatlined, so it's not going up. I would imagine that come December, this number is going to be significantly higher. That's typically what happens in the industry.
And the reason it's flatlined is because Ford, GM, and Stellantis, knowing that they're in the middle of a strike, even though
We just saw the data there, Dad. Ford and Stellantis went up month over month in terms of incentives 4 weeks into a strike.
Yeah, but GM went down, so that counteracted Ford and Stellantis, and I think even Ford and Stellantis are going to reevaluate where they're at on their incentive spend. But if their vehicles aren't selling, then they're going to be forced to increase their incentives. And we know that, say, on the Ford F-150, we know that there was an over $2,700 price increase on the base model. So for 2024, so
Yeah.
there's all kinds of pressure building, and the pressure is coming from the prices are high, interest rates are high, inventory's high, and the amount of people in the market is lower. We've talked about that statistic where when they surveyed the population, say, "Are do you think you're in the market for a car?" And 83% of the population says no. That leaves 17% of the population. When you're only appealing to 17% of potential buyers out there, it makes it harder when pricing's up, financing's up, finance is tightening. Loan approvals are down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that the closer we get to the end of the year, the larger the incentives will be. But a lot of that's going to depend on, well, when we actually see an end to the UAW strike.
For the Detroit Big Three, for all the
Yeah.
other brands, and we're seeing it, I see it popping up in the chat here. A lot of those other brands, unfortunately, still have very short inventory and dealers who are asking an arm and a leg, including above MSRP. So brands that, again, if you don't need to buy, don't be buying these. Honda, Toyota, Kia, Subaru, Lexus, Cadillac, Land Rover, Hyundai, Chevrolet,
Hmm.
all below the 60 days supply national average. So those are going to be brands that's going to be typically more difficult to negotiate on and find deals on because, well, they just don't have enough to keep up with current demand. Likely there will be incentives even for some of those brands at the end of the year.
Hmm.
That's just a function of how this industry works.
Yes.
But I wouldn't expect, it'll be a very different look than Dodge, Chrysler, Lincoln, Infiniti, Volvo, Ram, Jeep, Mini, Ford, Buick, Genesis, Mitsubishi, Porsche, Mazda, all the brands that have significantly more inventory. Speaking of which, then Mazda has
Yeah.
significantly above industry average inventory and price points that are attainable for consumers. We are huge fans of Mazda heading into this end of
And
year where there's good options.
and obviously they're doing something right because I believe their sales are up about 25% year to date, year over year. Um, and their inventory's up. So they've been able to figure out how to produce more cars, make more cars available while keeping their price points relatively low in comparison to their competitors. Um, and most of their dealers are still willing to work on the price of the car. So yes, we're big proponents of Mazda at the moment. We have been. It is. I think one of their claims to fame has always been that they've represented good value for money. Okay, they might not necessarily be the fanciest cars in the world, um, but they tend to last. They're quality cars. Um, when we needed to get you a car way back when, we went with a pre-owned Mazda 3 hatchback. You put, I don't know, like 60,000 miles on it, and in no time, it was a great little car. It really was. No issues. So yeah, we've always been fans of Mazda.
I want to turn my attention to a comment in the chat. It was something we were planning on getting to tonight. It's worth bringing up now. Zach, it's people who have trades should be more of shoppers today. And if you don't have a trade, then wait till Christmas. Igor is spot on. Trade in
Yeah.
values, wholesale values are up significantly. We will jump to one of my favorite things to do on this channel, which is a live experiment of trade in values. So we've got here in my email inbox a 2018 Honda Accord that I've been tracking over on Carvana. They say this thing has gone down $2,000 in value recently. $14,213 offer from Carvana. What I'm going to do, what I always do, is I go to
Yes.
caredge.com/sell. Let's plug the VIN in. Let's plug the mileage in. Let's put the zip code in. And let's see what others in the area would actually pay for this vehicle. And because to Igor's point, used cars right now are still going for a pretty penny debt, and you can get a lot for your trade-in.
Yes. Especially relatively young, lower mileage trade-ins, and I would think soon to be considered a 6-year-old vehicle with only 50 some thousand miles on it. Well, that's low miles for a vehicle of that vintage. So yeah, I
And again,
would think
Carvana's Carvana's at 14,213. I
I'm
imagine
I'm
we see
I'm
at least,
what,
yeah,
16 and a half, maybe 17 grand.
16 and a half, 17 grand. Let's see. It's still
Yeah.
loading over here. Holy cow,
Whoa.
man.
Whoa.
So this is why you shop your trade in
Yes.
today and also at the end of the year.
Well, I was
But if
pretty
you,
accurate on Car Gurus one.
yeah, the Car Gurus network is at 16,782, rooms at
Yeah.
15,392, CarMax at $18,400. So Igor is spot on. And we were going
Yeah.
to talk about this tonight. If you are in a position where you can sell your car today
Yes.
or in the next couple of weeks, because all of the data, we've got that queued up for tonight's show, we are seeing, the wholesale values start to normalize a little bit, come back up just a little bit. They're still down, but they're not down quite as much. But if you're in the market and you can sell a car today,
Yes.
sell it today, sell it next week. If you have a used car like you were describing, do it. And then on the flip side, if you can wait to the end of the year for a new vehicle, if you're looking for a used car, start looking for deals today. It's very difficult, but start looking for deals. I think it's important that people understand that the trade-in values are actually really, really, really solid today.
They are. And they it goes back to that old saying for a dealership, you can never pay too much for a nice car. So if they can trade something that is relatively new, relatively low mileage, and in relatively good condition, they're going to pay up for that because they're going to pay even more if they go to buy that at one of the local auctions. So, yes, dealers, listen, every used car manager I ever worked with, the first thing they wanted to do was they wanted to steal the trade. The first question most used car managers would ask a salesperson when they would drop off the appraisal slip was, well, what does your customer want for their car? Well, what they want and what it's worth are oftentimes two different things. And I used to say to the sales manager, doesn't matter what the customer wants at this point. What matters is it has a value. What is the value of that vehicle to us? Just go look at the car, put a number on it. Okay. Tell us what you think it's worth. Now, that didn't mean that the used car manager wouldn't lowball us. Of course he would. That's his job. That's where he makes his money. And it always fascinated me that that I could go back to the used car manager and go, man, I'm like 3 grand away. You go, not a problem. Put another $2,500 in the car. Go make your deal. Well, okay, that means to me that it was worth $2,500 more when you first looked at it. And so dealerships know today with the shortage of these quality used cars that they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to step up and pay for nice ones. And you should be able to work one dealership against another
For your trade.
for your trade. And sometimes it might even make more sense for you to if it let's say you have a Toyota to trade in. Okay. Well, the Honda dealer might not give you as much for that Toyota as the Toyota dealer might.
Yeah.
So it might make sense to go to your Toyota dealer and say, if I were to sell you this car, what would you pay me for it? And get a buy figure from them and be
And
able to use that buy figure at the Honda dealer where you're trying to actually buy the car.
And again, the example we just did, what did that take? 60 seconds?
Yes.
And it could be worth thousands of dollars. What you're describing
Mhm.
takes a little bit more work, but it's the same concept. It's the same idea. So used cars are still a precious commodity. Quality
Yeah.
used cars are a precious commodity. New cars, again, the theme for tonight is if you can hold out buying a new car, especially a domestic new car. That being said, if you've got an under MSRP deal on a Honda, a Toyota, a Subaru, go do your deal. But on these domestics, the ones where we are still seeing downward price pressure amidst a work stoppage and strike, for new cars, wait till the end of the year. The incentives are going to be strong. The inventory continues to build up even amidst the strike. And on used cars, if you can sell a car, sell the doggone thing, get a good value, but understand if you're going to buy another used car, quality ones are few and far between. We actually have another thing I'm going to show you about that. But just know that your leverage is on the car that you're selling, not necessarily the car that you're negotiating to buy.
And the truth of the matter is you're 2 months away. That's it. You're 2 months away from being able to get a better deal on a new domestic if that's what you're looking for, and more than likely on a new anything.
Yeah.
Okay? They're all fighting for market share and total sales for the year. That December is the best time. The last week of the year in December is the best time in December to buy a car, new or used, but in particular, new. Because there's all types of incentives from the manufacturers that are either customer incentives or customer incentives and dealer incentives. So dealers become usually much more motivated at the end of the year to figure out how to hit their numbers for the year.
100%. And you've got to imagine, even for some of the import brands, there are going to be incentives for dealers from the OEM to move metal to show growth as an OEM. Like they want
Mhm.
to show that they sold more cars, not that they sold less. I want to pull up Juan's comment here. I remember when Subaru had a 9 days supply. I kind of glossed over that, Dad. We
Yeah.
have bounced back significantly, gang. Subaru days supply is at 45 right now. If you go back 2-3 years ago, and our videos during the height of the new car shortage.
Go back a year ago.
Yeah, even a year ago, like the market is changing really rapidly. Interest rates are playing a huge role in that because it's making it unaffordable for many people to buy a vehicle, and that's
Yes.
forcing inventory to sit longer. But wow, yeah, I mean, inventory has bounced back a lot, Juan. So you are spot on. We also remember when
And
Subaru had a 9 day supply, and we have this 60-day supply, 2.21 million vehicles in inventory. It used to be, Dad. It used to be for new vehicles. What was it?
it,
750,000?
it was about 900,000 was the low water mark, and we were thrilled when it got up to like 1.2 million. And the high water mark used to be somewhere between 3.5 and 4 million that were available on a monthly basis. They are right in what I consider to be the new sweet spot. I I have been saying for months and months and months that new sweet spot for manufacturers will be somewhere between 2 and 2.4 million new vehicles available at dealerships, either on the ground or in transit in any given month. And so at 2.21 million, they're right there. Now, some of the brands, some of the Ford brands and the Ram and some of the I mean, they're significantly above where they would like it to be normally. But one of the reasons they could be as high as they are is because they build up inventories prior to when they knew there was going to be a strike, because they knew from their negotiating stance that they weren't going to be giving the UAW anywhere near what the UAW was initially asking for. So they knew there would be a strike.
Yeah. Well, either way, Dad, inventory's up a lot. The market has changed a lot. I bet you, I'm just going to put it out there. I bet you see significant finance incentives come the end of the year across the board. Across the board. You're going to see improved negotiability at the end of the year with dealers. And from the OEMs, you're going to see significant finance incentives. Let's see how that prediction
I
comes
I
out.
I would not be surprised, Zach, if there's not only finance incentives, but they will be able to be utilized in combination with some cash rebates as well. Um, the manufacturers are beginning to understand when only 17% of the population feels as if they can afford to buy a new car. Those manufacturers have to be taking notice to that. And they realize, in order to make cars more affordable for more people, one way to do it is to artificially lower the interest rate that people are going to have to pay in the loan,
Yep.
but also to combine that with cash incentives to help bring the people in, so that because they're just going to have to start. Incentive spends are going to go up significantly.
Gang, we've seen on some Jeep products, like between the dealer incentive, the federal tax credits, the OEM, and like $20,000 off. And
Yeah,
that's not even around Christmas and New Year's. So, like, no, we're going to see some stuff in about 60 days that all has us saying, okay, yeah, these two guys, they get a lot of predictions wrong, but I feel good. I feel like this
yeah.
is a very, again, new car inventory is up more than 100% in the past year. So like I can sleep at night feeling like we've got, some good data backing us up. Used cars, again, still precious commodity. We just demonstrated that. CarEdge.com/sell. If you're going to sell yours or trade yours in, used cars are still tricky.
May I make a prediction for going forward?
Yes,
I
sir.
predict here at CarEdge that greater than 50% of our predictions for the next 12 months will be incorrect.
Yeah, probably that's fair. All right, I want to turn our attention to a community forum post. If you are unfamiliar, one of the things we are most proud of, my dad and I, is caredge.com/community. This is a
Yeah.
100% free community forum. There are, I think, about 30,000 people that have created accounts here and help each other. Of course, you can also access Deal School, as well as share your success stories. That being said, we just had a question come in, Dad, from Jeffrey about CPOs and if they're worth it. And when I saw this on the community forum, I knew I wanted to talk about certified pre-owned. And then we
Okay.
had Igor in the chat saying cars can still be CPO'd, are bringing all the money. Now, Igor's comment here hit the nail on the head. And for those of you that don't know, CPO stands for Certified Pre-Owned. If you're familiar to learn more about the concept of certified pre-owned, Google search CarEdge space certified pre-owned. We have guides, we've got videos, the whole 9 yards. I want to show you a troubling trend, Pops and everyone that's with us. The terms with which a vehicle can be CPO'd seem
Yes,
to be changing. All right. I do
they are.
not remember a time where vehicles that had accidents could
Yes.
be certified pre-owned. I've got two examples here from both Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram dealerships, two different dealerships. We've got, what is this? A 2020
Mm-hmm.
Jeep Compass Trailhawk. All right. Wow, we might do an experiment tonight to talk about how crazy overpriced this is. But before
Yeah.
we do, I just want to
Yeah.
scroll down here. It is certified pre-owned by
Okay.
the OEM.
Okay.
Go to the Carfax, Dad.
Okay. Yes.
Explain to me how this vehicle can have an accident
Because it was minor.
and be certified pre-owned.
Yes. And I remember even when I was still actively in the business, manufacturers at that time said, if it's a minor accident. Now, what define minor? Minor, it's like it's like when a football player has surgery, the announcers always go, well, he had minor surgery. Well, it was minor surgery because it was on him, not on you. Okay. And so define a minor accident. My definition of minor and a customer's definition of minor could be two different definitions, but I believe the real definition should be based on percent of value of vehicle, so that if the accident represented less than, I don't know, 5% or 6% of the value of the vehicle, or if the accident didn't involve any frame damage,
Mhm.
then that might be and could be considered minor, where a manufacturer would still allow you to certify that vehicle.
So
My
you're
suspicion is,
telling me I shouldn't be so surprised that we're seeing certified pre-owned vehicles because I got a second example. It's the same thing.
oh,
Minor accident.
my suspicion is that the degree of minor is a higher number today than it was in the past. Um, and there's two reasons for it. One reason is there's a shortage of damn cars to begin with. Okay, and so one of the ways you make cars worth more is you certify them, even if they've been in a minor accident. Um, so just be careful. Um, if it shows on the Carfax that it was in a minor accident, typically on the Carfax, it will show what part of the car was damaged. So get a thorough, I mean, you can do a visual inspection of where the damage was, and then get, as we always say, get a pre-purchase inspection done. So, but yeah, it didn't used to be that like just about any car can be certified.
I mean, I think obviously I'm learning something here. Cars that have minor accidents can be certified. I
Yeah.
imagine we're seeing more. So think about the pool of available used cars is smaller. The quality of those used cars that are in the market is worse. We know that we see that through the measurements of what cars make up used cars in the auction, or excuse me, in the market.
Yes.
Less off lease vehicles, more repo vehicles, more post rental fleet vehicles. So we know that they're coming in with a little bit more rougher timeline. That being said, do your due diligence. I do have a question on this though, Pops. Do you think we're going to
Yeah.
put you on the spot here? We're going to
Okay.
pull this vehicle back up. This is a 2020 Jeep Compass Trailhawk with
Did it,
32,000 miles in Paramus, New
yeah.
Jersey.
Did it say? I know it said it was a minor accident. Did it say where the damage was?
Give me a second.
When if you scroll down on the
Minor
car
damage.
Carfax, it might show when the accident occurred. And
Yeah, it said minor damage on the front left front.
okay, left front. So it might have just been a bumper. It might have been a bumper cover. It might have been a small dent to the left front fender.
There is something weird going on here, though, Pops. Let me pull
Yes.
this back up. The vehicle here shows with 17,469 miles on the odometer. And then on the dealer website, it shows with 32,101.
What's this now?
Dealer website.
Yeah. It says it has 32,000 miles.
Carfax says.
Wow. So it only had so where'd that extra 15,000 miles? Somebody must have fat fingered something.
Somebody must have fat figured something. What do you think a fair price for this vehicle would be? I'm going to pull this up at the original window sticker on the vehicle, $33,160. Again, used cars are in short supply. So we've got certified pre-owned for $22,944. And you betcha, Pops, I already queued it up.
Yeah.
All the way over here back on caredge.com/sell. Let's see. This is the zip code for Paramus, New Jersey. What do you think Carvana, CarMax, all them are going to offer for this? And I'll put in that it has a minor accident. Let's see what that does.
Well, I would say like 17.5, maybe 18 to the moon.
All right. So we put in that it has one minor accident. We'll say everything else is good. None of the above. No. I always like doing these. This is always fun.
Yes. Well,
we got all the keys. We got brand new tires. No issues. Sure, I'll buy another vehicle.
And we do want you to have fun when you're doing this. So yeah, by all means.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Again, the dealer certified pre-owned, $22,944 is the advertised price.
I'm pretty good. What the hell happened to Vroom? Did they accidentally leave the tens off? I mean, come on, it's got to be worth more than $7,300. I mean, Jesus.
Oh man, what the heck?
Yeah.
Wow, 17.7. All right, so maybe this dealer's not too crazy for what they're asking. Maybe a sign of the times that for some vehicles that are in oversupply, i.e., Jeep products, you actually can get yourself, a deal potentially. I'm not calling that a deal, but it's not too crazy.
I wouldn't call it a deal either, but I'm proud of myself for guessing that it would probably be somewhere in 17 to 17.5 range.
No, I mean you hit it right on the money. That's what you do, Pops. I commend you for that. I'm always impressed.
Yeah, those are about the only predictions I get right.
Yeah. No, you did a good job. Your ability to estimate what vehicles are worth is pretty damn impressive. We've got Space here in the chat with us tonight. Vroom doesn't want Jeeps, but I saw them come higher than CarMax on a RAV4. That is the nice thing about that tool. That is like the actual nice thing is you can see kind of where things, who's paying higher for what, who's paying lower for what.
Wow. Yeah. No. Yeah. And Space keeps a good. He really tracks that stuff. God bless him.
Yeah.
Me, I fly by the seat of my pants and 43 years worth of experience, but
Pops, there was another thing that pertains to not just Jeeps, but
Yeah.
Ram. We saw this story. You saw this story. I found it to be super interesting. We'll turn our attention here. Did you see this marketing stunt out of Utah? Entire Utah football team gets Ram trucks. Tell me you have an oversupply of vehicles without telling me you have
You
an
have an
oversupply of
oversupply. Yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah.
The Ram 1500 Bighorns are being leased through Ken Garff Automotive Group in one of the largest NIL deals in college sports. What the heck happened here, Pops?
Well, it's really fascinating because so many college football players. Well, they're big dudes. A lot of them are really big dudes, and well, if you're a big dude, you need a big horn pickup. Everybody knows that, and if you're going to ask these kids to go to school in Utah, well, there's nothing that's going to incentivize them to do that better than saying, "Hey, if you are a scholarship athlete here, okay." You're getting yourself a big horn just for committing and coming to school here. Um, well, I guess there's 85 student athletes. I guess we can call them that.
Yeah,
There's
that's what they are, student athletes.
there's 85 students that are going to be doing advertising for Ram products and the Bighorn pickup trucks in Utah. The boosters have donated enough money that's
Crimson
going to cover
Collective,
the
the
six.
nonprofit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to cover the $6 million worth of vehicles that these kids are going to be given for a year to drive, and then the dealer will take the vehicles back and be able to sell them, and probably say, and so the quarterback drove this, and they'll say that about every damn pickup truck, by the way, just between you and me, because he might have sat in it. Listen, it's a way for student athletes to get paid without getting paid, and so they get use of a truck for a year.
And Ken Garff gets to move 85 vehicles, man.
Yes, yes, yes,
That's insane.
and Ram gets to.
And Ram gets to move 85 vehicles.
Yeah.
Non-trivial when you've got tens of thousands of them sitting,
No,
nationwide.
it was interesting to me, and what are they going to give the basketball players? What are they going to give the soccer players? What the gymnasts? That they're usually much smaller. What are they going to give them? Minis? Let's get them minis. It's interesting the way the dynamic for college sports has changed. When a quarterback at a big time university says, "Hey, I know I could go to the NFL next year, but I have another year's worth of eligibility, and I could probably make more money staying at USC." That tells you everything you need to know. I mean, that literally tells you everything you need to know. So yeah, it's about time the kids got paid, because to say, well, they were all getting a quality education. Well, that was BS. They.
Oh, I don't know if that's the case, man. They were at the university. They were on scholarship. If they wanted to, they could get a good education.
Yeah, but most of them didn't. A lot of, I won't say most of them. A lot of
most of them is not.
Yeah. A lot of them who thought they had careers in professional sports weren't remotely interested in the education side of things that came along with that scholarship, especially basketball players who were one and done type of guys. But that's a story. That's a story for a different day. But I just thought that was interesting, that this is how
it's gonna be the future of moving inventory, man.
Yes,
it's a brand deal. You've got donors paying for it, and you just moved 85 vehicles. Like, this could be the
it's not
future
like
of
Ram gave them away. It's like,
No.
donors are paying for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great thing.
Interesting way to market. Yeah, I found it quite compelling. All right, Pops. I'll switch gears just a little bit here. We'll call it like a relatively short show for tonight. So for those of you who are, we're done with the auto related content. At least I am, unless my dad picks up another topic here. I felt so conflicted coming into tonight, man. I talked to you before the show. We'll talk about live here for a minute. I'm personally getting, how do I say this? I feel annoyed that we always have to lead with clickbait titles to get viewership on our channel. And I want to stop doing that. And I want to stop caring so much about viewership. And so I don't know what we're going to do. Don't expect any change tomorrow or even next week, but it's something that I just have been feeling and it's been sitting with me. And I want to find a way. Maybe it's like in the new year, but I want to find a way, Dad, to like not feel that way and feel really proud of what we produce and not have
Hmm.
to feel the tinge of, roping someone in with the world is on fire. And it's really frustrating. It makes me really sad. I feel really sad that that's what we get rewarded for on the internet. It makes me really sad, man.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I commend you for saying it. Um, and I will. The only thing I will say is the internet is set up in such a way that the thing that gets clicks are incomplete stories, something that you read the headline that leaves you hanging, so you got to click on it to find out what the hell it is, um, you know, or absolute just full bore ass clickbait, just and
Yeah.
and and that's what drives the algorithms to get for it to come up as the next video, the recommended video, and that's a function of, I hate to say this, but that's a function of Google and YouTube.
It's a
And
function of human psychology,
well,
Dad. We
yeah,
click
yeah,
on the things that are their whole system is set up. The more clicks, the more ads they can sell. Just so everyone knows, they take 60% of the ad revenue. So it's like
yeah.
it's a game, it's
Well,
truly a game.
and we talked about it on yesterday's show. You weren't here, but the same before the internet, when there was that thing called newspapers and people actually had a newspaper. Okay, and they would see them either at the newsstand or in the newspaper dispensing machines. The way they sold newspapers was the headline. Whatever the headline was on the front page. Well, that's where it all started. It starts with the headline. And that's what YouTube is. That's what the internet is. That's what all of this is. So it's how do you write a clever enough headline to get people to click? Now, maybe our headline should be so clever and that that they're not always doom and gloom, but so clever that people would want to click because they want to find out why everybody's so happy today. I don't
I
know.
hear you, man. To be very clear, Pops. I'm not bringing it up to ask you or anyone that's with us for a solution. I'm asking to feel heard.
We heard you. Now get
Thank you.
over it, young man. No.
Because I recognize that in our dynamic, it's super interesting to me. We actually get to play into it a little bit. My
Yeah,
dad is the good guy and I'm the bad guy. I do the thumbnails. My dad doesn't know how to use graphic design tools, right? So like I get to set him up and then he gets to call me out for it. And it builds a fun dynamic. Like you're the
yeah.
good guy, I'm the bad guy. I'm just saying
You're
this to
tired
let
of being the
everyone
bad
know.
guy.
Yeah, I kind of am tired of being the bad guy. Like I also don't want the world to end every week. Like I want to celebrate the good things. And I'm not, again, not looking for solutions. I'm looking for the forum to tell people how I feel so that some of what's really going on in here and the conflict that I feel with, using this platform.
Well,
Yeah, that's all.
the way we do it, and the thumbnails that you produce are 180 degrees from what your mission is for the company that you've built. Um,
That's also
okay,
another thing that makes me feel
yeah,
conflicted. Bud. Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard, and it's hard for me to sit here and justify the things that we do in order to get people to click and justify it by saying, but yes, the entertainment value and the educational value that we're providing you, even though we kind of snookered you into clicking to find out, those values are so worth it that we're willing to prostitute ourselves in that manner? You know, I don't know. I don't know that there's a right way or wrong way. I know the way. Right now, I know the way. You know the way. We don't like the way, but it's the way because it's what drives human nature, and human nature is that they want to they want to see a headline, they want to see something that grabs their attention, and then they have to click
Yeah.
on the damn thing. And whether it be a headline in a newspaper, whether it be when you're watching the news on TV and they set up the next segment, and well, we'll be back in 60 seconds and you can find out the answer to that. Everything's a hook. Everything in life is a hook. It just is. So but I respect you for feeling the way you feel and feeling conflicted about it. And I also respect you for admitting that you have no idea what the answer is.
I feel heard, Pops. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, I just dropped a link in the chat. One of the great things that what we've built over the past coming up on 3.5 years now, coming up on
No, come
4
on,
years,
stop.
coming up
It'll
on
be
4
4 years.
years,
4
4
years in
years,
December. Yeah.
be 4 years in December.
Yeah.
We're hiring for 5, and we're actually adding another role that we're hiring for now. So one of the great joys, one of the things that makes me feel so proud and so ecstatic, eager, optimistic about the future of what we're doing at CarEdge is the fact that we get to employ people
Yes.
around a mission of trying to solve the problem of making buying a car more convenient and fair. So, and then advancing this industry forward. So, I go to sleep at night knowing that, we get to bring people onto the team, really great people onto the team. If you're interested in applying for the various roles, seeing what the roles are, go to careers, click through the few buttons, you'll see the open positions. That to me, yeah, like that's how I end the night on a high note. And also we have fun. Like no matter what, we hop on these shows, we have fun.
Yeah.
Whether we could do a show with no audience and we have fun because it's
Well,
just us hanging out.
I haven't seen you since Tuesday, but
Yeah, exactly.
here's the real question, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but you're not replacing me, are you?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to know. Do I need to be looking for work somewhere?
No, you
No,
don't
I'm
need to
good.
be.
I'm good. Okay, good. I'm good, ladies and gentlemen.
You're good. You're good for the long haul, man. As long as you want to do this stuff, you've got to play. We're working on the new podcast that's coming out soon. So yeah, no, super excited. And yeah, JS is saying I want to get California dealers in our network. I know good ones. I worked with 100%. Like this is what we've been investing in. We continue to invest in. We are building out our CarEdge network and really, again, truly like transparent and convenient, like the way buying a car should be. I'm really, really proud of the work that we're doing. It's just a lot of work, a lot of work.
I was talking to a gentleman who lives in the building yesterday, and people think it's just the YouTube channel, and well, hey, the website helps. They have no idea that you have 30 employees between software engineers and developers and car coaches, and I mean, and it's a growing business, and the business just between the few of us that are listening tonight, the business is making money. In spite of all the nonsense that we go through, and
after 3.5 years of not,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's like, people think, well, it's just these two knuckleheads on the internet, and it's just like our hokey website, and it is so much more than that. That people have no real concept of how committed you are to changing the way cars are sold in this country.
That's why I've been so appreciative of you and Justice continuing to do the show over on the Ray and Zach channel when I'm not available, because I'm in more meetings. I'm working more with the team. I'm working more to convince people that this industry can operate differently. Like my time is being sucked into a lot of those, and I feel compelled to do it because I'm realizing that I need more and more people to buy into what we're saying. This idea of it's really not complex. And for any of our competitors out there, here's our pitch, gang. Look at how CarMax and Carvana sell cars. We should be able to convince car dealers to do the same exact thing. Be upfront about price, be upfront about the process. The whole way your freaking dealership should operate should change overnight. You
Mhm.
shouldn't have to have all this cost infrastructure. You should be able to pass along savings to the consumer. Like, I'm like 4 years in, but I also feel like I've got you spent 40 years in this industry. That I feel like I've got 36 more years ahead of me of trying to push it forward, trying to make it truly, honestly, make so many aspects of what you used to do professionally obsolete.
Do
Like,
you
get rid of the back and forth, get rid of the BS. Yeah.
Well, the wonderful thing about our videos now, in the beginning, it'll say Ray Shefska, 43 years in the retail automobile business, and I'll say Zach Shefska, Ray's son. I'm looking forward to the time when you're still doing YouTube videos, probably not with me, but you're still doing YouTube videos, and it says Zach Shefska changed the automobile industry. Okay, that's what I'm looking forward to. And and I have said this, or I have written this in comments that some of your investors have seen. I believe that if anybody can do it, it's you, and that you're naive enough to not give up because you think you can change it.
Yeah,
And
man.
and so I admire you for that. And I hope being that naive is truly what allows the industry to evolve and finally move forward, because somebody grabbed the vast majority of the dealers kicking and screaming and dragged them all into the 21st century. And I don't have the strength to do that, but you do. um Hell, you do Ironman competitions and stuff, and so I know that once you put your mind to something,
Thank you, Dad.
there's no stopping you. So
Let's come here to the chat. I appreciate it. Means the world to me. Let's jump to the chat for a couple minutes here, Pops.
thank
Shannon,
you,
thank
Shannon.
you. Community members like yourself give me energy, to want to show up and hang out live. I'd show up on a Saturday night and hang out with my dad regardless, but to do it on the internet, members like you, Shannon, give me a
Make
lot
it
of energy
worthwhile.
to do
Yeah.
that. Sarah says, I don't watch because of the clickbait titles. I watch to see the news you guys have to share. Thank you, Sarah. I think we do a fairly effective job of pairing what's going on in the industry with what's going on in our lives, with typically a lot of sarcasm and a lot of straight talk from my dad. So thanks for saying that, Sarah.
There's nothing wrong with being enlightening and entertaining all at the same time.
We've got Dad from Carson. Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
contribution,
Carson.
Carson. Frankly, I'm all about the graphics. I would love to see one with Ray screaming, setting a ram on fire. Love the show. You helped me get a Lexus GX 460 for $2,000 off. I am
Uh,
all aboard for comment suggestions for what we should do on future thumbnails. We've had some good ones that have really almost made me cry from laughter
yes.
on the shows. From our Barbados, when we were talking about the business model, this idea of convincing dealers to operate differently. Do you think dealerships would be profitable? 100%. The
Sure.
dealership has to be profitable.
Yeah.
The thing that I am convinced of, absolutely unequivocally convinced of, I really don't think anyone can tell me otherwise, is this idea that if the experience of buying a car was significantly better, let's say the dealer made a little bit less money, but the experience was materially better, that customer would go back to them not only for future car purchases, but also for their maintenance work, their repair work, all the other areas of the dealership's business that are super valuable in terms of actually you and I, Pops, we don't want to live our lives without having access to auto repairs. And there are
Mhm.
independent shops and they serve a purpose too, but also valuable for the dealership. They make a lot of money there and it's very profitable. Tesla's trying to change the industry with the direct-to-consumer sales. CarMax, Carvana have proven that consumers want a better buying experience. So I am all in on make a little bit less money, or maybe even a lot of bit less money per car sold, but have a 10 times better experience and never have to worry about acquiring a customer again. And I want to get rid of car gurus and cars.com. You heard it here first. Those lead gen websites and TrueCar, such a waste of money for these dealers.
Mhm.
They close like 1 to 2% of those leads. So it's just like they're just freaking running around trying to hammer stuff and they can't. And it's like
Whack-a-mole. They're playing
whack-a-mole.
whack-a-mole.
Yeah, whack-a-mole. So it's like, will the dealers make money in our model? Of course they'll make money. They have to make money, but like it can be way more efficient. Way more efficient.
Well, it'll happen. You'll make it so.
In due time, Bob's in due
Yes.
time. We've got from Mrs. Handy RU. Thank you for the
Thank you.
contribution. Love the two of you. Oh man, my husband recently died.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, really sorry. Really, really, really sorry. If that's you and your husband and your avatar, it's very, very great photo. That's awesome. We'll buy a new SUV soon on my own. You have helped me tremendously. Cannot thank you enough.
Well, you thanked us more than enough. And we're sorry for your loss, and may your husband's memory be a blessing.
That's sad. I feel
Yes.
sad.
Yes.
But thank you for sharing that with us. That also makes me feel really proud to be able to help people like that.
And we will.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the How to Negotiate role play videos, those are probably some of the most helpful. Or Deal School. Deal School's free. Go enjoy some Deal School. Okay. Call to show?
Okay.
Call tonight?
Okay. Go home to Laura?
Go home to Laura, man. Who you going home to? The couch?
Yeah. Motorized. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll be sitting there. There's football tonight. There's always something. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, earlier today, I get a phone call from Zach, and he said Netflix is going to send you something or another, so that Laura and I can watch Netflix here, which was great. So I hit the button, whatever I had to hit, and they got Netflix. I went to watch something on Netflix. It said I have to set up an account. So apparently we have expanded our family account.
Oopsies.
Yeah, I have no idea how that's going to impact my monthly charge with Netflix. But yeah, I had to then go through. Oh, you want to add this? Okay, great. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned because we watched one episode of Seinfeld. We were going to watch another episode, and then it kicked us out and said we had to create an account.
See?
So that must.
Yeah. So apparently we have to figure out how to make one of those joint family accounts, and I think they charge an extra $7.99 or something for that. Yeah. And $8 extra a month. So we'll have to figure out how to do that, and we can add you. And then maybe once a year you send me a check for
or I'll take you out to dinner or something.
or you'll take me out to dinner. Exactly. And I was going to ask you, what was it that you watched on Netflix that was
Seinfeld?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's such a funny show.
It is.
That is such a funny show.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. On the weekends, I like watching Seinfeld. It's a good way to kind of relax. Yeah.
Yes. I guess I should, once we're done here, I should go into the Netflix account and see how to add you.
Don't worry about it. We'll be a-okay. All right. I love you.
I love you too.
I'll see you tomorrow before football. We'll spend some time together. Thanks everyone for listening to me talk about how I feel. Appreciate that. I really, really do. And thanks for tuning in for earlier in the part of the show where we've got a moment here. We've got a moment. 60 days. Car prices should be going down for new cars. Take advantage of that. Let's stay patient.
Yes.
We'll help. I mean, I imagine the last week of the year that will be really freaking busy. If we can help a couple thousand people buy a car at the end of the year, that would, we did it last year. We should be able to do it again this year.
I think maybe we could help even more.
Yes. All right, Pop. See you tomorrow.
Okay. Yes. Enjoy whatever football games you watch tomorrow. If you watch a football game, and I just have a feeling we'll be making some videos probably sometime in the morning. So I look forward to seeing you sometime tomorrow morning.
See you, Pops.
See you, Zach. Love you, honey. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you again sometime soon, we promise.